Hey, what's going on, everybody? Stumperton here, recapping all the movie news coming out of Hollywood in the last few days. Before we start, I just want to let you guys know everything I'm talking about today is sourced from articles from like Hollywood Reporter, Deadline, stuff like that. I'll have everything linked down in the description below if you want to read the articles in full. But without further ado, let's get right into it. Okay, so first up, Michael Bay and Sydney Sweeney are going to team up for a movie adaptation of the OutRun video game series at Universal. Michael Bay's attached to direct this. His last directorial outings were Ambulance, Six Underground, and Transformers: The Last Night. And if you haven't seen that movie, you might have seen this clip.
You wretched human!
Yeah, he gets fucking blown the fuck up. Sydney Sweeney's gonna be producing this. The last things she produced were Anyone But You and Immaculate, but she also starred in both of those movies, and she's not starring in this one, at least as of right now. So I don't know how that's gonna go. Jason Rothwell is gonna write the scripts. I looked him up. He has like a few writing credits. His last like big movie was a movie called Polar, which I haven't seen, but it looks like a John Wick knockoff. It's starring Mads Mikkelsen. It has a pretty bad score on Rotten Tomatoes. I know that's not like the arbiter of like if a movie's gonna be good or not, but if it's bad on Rotten Tomatoes, it's probably really bad because they usually give most movies like pretty high ratings. I don't know why they're even gonna like adapt this series. The first game came out in 1986. It was like a video game cabinet, and the last game, like the most recent game to come out of this series, came out in 2009 for the Xbox 360 and the PS3. We're already on PS5 and like Xbox One X, and we're already like over halfway through the life cycle for these. You know, like we're probably gonna get new consoles in like 2 years, 3 years. So I don't know why they're even trying to adapt this in the first place. It's not like the games had like a story really. It's a Sega property, so I don't know if they're trying to chase the success of Sonic, but those movies like also were popular for a reason because they have actual like recognizable characters and fucking Jim Carrey, who was carrying those movies for the most part. But like they're very merchandisable. Outrun, I mean, there's been like a few video game, like racing game adaptations in movies, and they haven't done that great, like Need for Speed and Gran Turismo. So I don't know what kind of plot this movie's gonna have to get people to want to see it, even if like Sydney Sweeney's not even gonna be in this. So I really don't see like where the demand for watching any of this stuff is gonna come through, but we'll have to wait and see. Michael Bay is also going to produce this too, alongside one of his producing partners, Brad Fuller, who they seem to do like a lot of like Blumhouse horror stuff. They did Drop, Quiet Place. He's done like a bunch of other things, Elevation. Um, but yeah, the article says that this is one of Sega's flagship series. It is not. I had to look this up to even figure out like what game this was. I had no idea that this game even existed because, like I said, it's been like over 15 years since the last game released. Um, I mean, the article is saying that they're maybe Universal's trying to get a slice of the pie because Minecraft and The Last of Us adaptations are popular. But the reason why Minecraft is actually still popular to this day, and it also, like Sonic, has very recognizable like characters. The Last of Us is also just like a very story-driven game, so it lends itself to being adapted into a television series. I still don't see how Outrun is gonna, do any of that, but we'll see. They go on to say that Outrun slated to follow the Super Mario Bros. Movie and the Five Nights at Freddy's films, which made 1.4 billion and 290 million respectively. And respectfully, I don't think Outrun's even going to touch like half of what Five Nights at Freddy's did. But hey, I might be proven wrong. We'll see who ends up starring in it. We'll see if they're doing anything good. The writer doesn't really give me that much hope. Also, Michael Bay directing, like, sure, this is going to be like flashy, but I don't really know if it's going to be worth watching. Sydney Sweeney, I mean, the last two movies she produced were okay, but I think the majority of the reason why people went to go watch them is because she was in them. So her not being in this one, it's probably going to hurt it more. All right, next up, Ernie Hudson's going to be taking over for Carl Weathers in the voice role of Combat Carl in Toy Story 5. There's not really much to say about this other than rest in peace, Carl Weathers. It's always sad when an actor passes away, but I'm glad that they're recasting instead of just getting rid of the character altogether. And Ernie Hudson seems like a pretty chill guy, so I'm glad that he got the role. Recently, Tim Allen dropped some info on the movie saying it's going to have a lot to do with Jesse, so that's going to be pretty interesting. And he went on to say that Woody and Buzz are going to reconnect, which if you've seen Toy Story 4, you know why that's going to be a pretty big plot point moving forward. He also said that the opening scene has to do with Buzz Lightyear's plural, so I'm interested in what that means. I don't know if it's going to be like some sort of like fantasy sequence or if it's going to be like some origin thing, but we'll see. I have to wait and see. Andrew Stanton's gonna write and direct. He's been on the writing team for every Toy Story since the first one, so that's giving me like a little more hope that this is gonna be one of the better Pixar films that come out recently because they haven't been doing too hot. But he also did double duty writing and directing Wall-E and Finding Nemo, so that also does give me like a lot more hope that this is gonna be good. Toy Story is like kind of like the Pixar franchise, and every time they announce a new one, I'm like nervous that they're gonna ruin the legacy, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, in some horror news, Sarah Michelle Gellar and Elijah Wood are gonna join the Ready or Not sequel. It's titled Ready or Not, Here I Come. And I just want to say big ups to whoever committed to this bit because they did what the Now You See Me franchise couldn't. They just went with Now You See Me 2, and then now that they're making a third one, they're gonna go Now You See Me, Now You Don't. Nah, bro, that's not how it works. You guys are washed. Get out of here. Anyways, Sean Hatosi from The Pit. If you haven't seen The Pit, watch The Pit. He's also joining the cast, as well as Nestor Carbonell. He was in Bates Motel. And David Cronenberg, which is really interesting. I don't know who he's going to be playing, but I hope it's like something crazy because that's just like such a funny choice to join the cast. It's going to be directed by the directors of the original, as well as having the same writers as the original. And if you don't know these guys, the directors at least, they were the ones that directed Scream 5 and 6, which I thought weren't that. I thought they were pretty good, you know. But then that whole shit show happened, and they're not here. So I'm glad they're at least doing something else. And this seems like something that fans of the original kind of wanted them to do, especially just because of like the title joke. But anyways, Sarah Michelle Gellar, you know, she's no stranger to horror, and Elijah Wood is a really great actor. And I feel like this is a side rant, but he was really wasted in The Monkey that came out earlier this year. I don't know what the fuck Oz Perkins was thinking putting him in this movie, and then just like never coming back to that. I thought, you know, for sure he was gonna like die in some like really funny way, but that movie kind of sucked. So whatever. I'm glad he didn't waste too much time on set there. Anyways, I hope he has a really fun bit with this movie. I don't know who he's playing. I don't know who Sarah Michelle Gellar's playing, but either way, I hope they have fun with this because the first one was honestly a pretty fun movie. All right, moving on. Delroy Lindo said that Marvel's delayed Blade remake just went off the rails. He said Marvel seemed really interested in his input, and then all of his conversations with the writer, the producer, and the director at the time made him feel like it was going to be really inclusive, and he was excited for the project, but for whatever reason, it just went off the rails. And that's a pretty good description of what's going on here. I don't know what is happening. I know that the movie got delayed because of the pandemic, and then they had industry strikes, but this thing was announced in 2019. He signed on in 2021, and he left the project already. It's 2025. I would too. Like, what the hell's going on? You've had 2 directors leave. You've had a 3rd director be rumored, who also got rumored to leave, like before they could even officially announce that he was the director. And now they're saying that Chad Stahelski might be directing it, but they're moving forward with the John Wick 5. So I really don't know when the hell this movie is going to come out. Kevin Feige keeps saying that they're committed to it, but I really don't think they are. If you can pump out shit like Thor: Love and Thunder before this, like what is going on there? I really don't know. And also, what an awful idea to have Wesley Snipes come back to cameo as Blade in Deadpool and Wolverine. Like, you're trying to get people hyped for this new rendition of a character, and you're bringing back the old guy from 20 years ago. What is going on? I have no idea. I was really hyped for this movie, and honestly, now I'm really not, because it's going to be, what, like at least like 3 years before we even see it. If we see it, you know, whatever. Speaking of being frustrated, Steven Soderbergh says that it's frustrating when mid-budget films like Black Bag underperform at the box office. He said that this is the kind of movie that he built his career on, and if mid-level budget star-driven movies can't seem to get people over the age of 25 years old to come out to the theaters, then it's truly a dead zone, and that's not a good thing for movies. And he's right. Honestly, I feel like people, I mean, look, there's a rising cost of tickets. That's a huge factor for sure. But I think people would rather make the trip out to a theater to go see like big spectacle than, you know, story-driven, you know, character-driven, dialogue-driven. Like Black Bag, I saw in theaters. It's just people talking in rooms. I thought it was great, but it is just people talking in rooms. And I'll be completely honest, if I didn't have like a movie theater subscription where I'm just paying like a set price per month to go see like, you know, however many movies a week, I might not have seen Black Bag in theaters. And that's just me being honest because, yeah, tickets cost a lot. I'm glad I have that movie subscription because I do see movies a lot, and it is worth it for me in the long run. And this isn't like a plug on like movie theater subscriptions. I'm not saying the name of the theater I'm going to because I'm not trying to make this sound like an advertisement. But I think, you know, if I didn't have that and I saw a Black Bag, like a trailer for it or whatever, I would be like, yeah, you know, I'm going to see this at home on streaming. It does kind of lend itself to that environment now, and people just really aren't willing to go see these kinds of mid-budget movies at the theaters because, like I said, ticket prices are expensive. So it is sad, but it is also just like a sign of like how we are and where the film industry is right now, especially with streaming, especially how COVID impacted streaming releases and how much sooner we're getting them. And now people are just used to waiting like a few weeks. Most people think that it takes like a month for a movie to come out. I think it takes like, a month and a half. Disney tries to keep it to 60 days, which is cool, but like I said, it's really not looking good for mid-budget movies. He went on to say that some of his best-known movies wouldn't even get made in the current movie-making climate, like Aaron Brockovich or Traffic. And unless you get Timothy Chalamet, who seems to be interested in doing different kinds of movies, then that window is getting smaller and smaller for filmmakers to climb through. And he's totally correct. Like, unless you have like a really big name who's willing to do a smaller movie, you're most likely not gonna make it, at least in terms of like a big theatrical release. And that really sucks because the number of like actual movie stars nowadays are dwindling. Like, there's no real movie star besides like what, Tom Cruise. So I mean, hopefully things turn around. There's gonna have to be some sort of like shift in the way that, either ticket prices, the presentation. I really don't know. Obviously, I'm sure many people are having these kinds of conversations in the studios and stuff, and they still haven't really figured it out. So we'll have to see. But I hope movies like Black Bag continue to go to the theaters because I want to support them, I want to watch them, and I want them to keep getting made. Okay, and switching gears to something that it seems kind of really like, what the hell? Oscar voters can no longer vote in a category unless they've seen all nominees. To which I have to say, yeah, fucking good. What the fuck? Why wasn't this already a rule? It says in the past, voters were always asked not to vote if they hadn't watched all the nominees. That obviously wasn't working because the process operated entirely on an honor system, which fucking what? Moving forward, though, the Academy is going to have like an e-voting system and in the final round of voting, so still like not even like, you still have to be able to get to the final round of voting for this to actually like kick in. They're not going to allow members to access the ballot for categories in which they have not demonstrated that they have watched all the nominees, which I don't really know how you're going to demonstrate that. I guess they're saying that they're going to track viewing via a members only Academy screening room streaming app, which, okay, cool, I guess. But like when they watch movies like elsewhere, it says that they're going to have them fill out a form declaring when and where they watched the movie. So it just seems like, obviously, like, this is good, but I don't, the way that they're enforcing it, I don't know how well that's going to work out for them. Obviously, people that are in the Academy, they get the screeners, so it is easier for them to watch them. And if they're just getting them through an app now, then I guess they can just log that. And if they haven't seen the movie, then they get locked out of voting. So I don't know. It's just kind of crazy that that wasn't already a rule like set in place firmly, but at least it is now. So they're also changing some other rules, which obviously that was the big headline, but they're also changing some other rules, like how, especially with now where like a lot of people are refugees, like leaving countries, they can submit for best international feature by the country that they have fled to. So say, somebody, obviously America's kind of going in the shitter right now. Somebody leaves America, they go to France, they make a movie in France, and as long as that country can prove that that filmmaker had like most of the creative control and it was largely in their hands, then that movie can be submitted for France, like in terms of like international features. So I think that's really cool. It sucks that that's becoming like a big enough issue that they're having to like implement rules for that, but I'm glad they're at least doing that. And hopefully we'll be able to see a lot more types of international feature films coming out and getting submitted to the Oscars. Also, they were talking about AI, and they kind of they acknowledged it, but they didn't really do anything about it. Obviously, The Brutalist and Amelia Perez, which Amelia Perez is a dog shit fucking movie. They both used AI somewhat to some extent. They're acknowledging the issue, this article says, without actually restricting it in any way. And it's basically kind of like on the honor system type thing that they were doing before. They're just saying, hey, movies are going to have AI, and it's up to the people that are voting to say if they're good or not. Obviously, if it's using AI and it's a good movie, it can still get nominated. So obviously, Brutalist and Amelia Perez, I mean, I don't know about Amelia Perez, but I at least know The Brutalist used it a little bit just to like tweak Adrian Brody's accent. I don't know what else they used it for. I think maybe some backgrounds and stuff. But if a movie is being predominantly made with AI, I'm sure that's going to kind of cut it from being like able to contend for an Academy Award, or at least it should, but we'll have to wait and see. All right, and for the last story of the day, some box office news. Sinners beat Minecraft with a $48 million surprise Easter victory. And Warner Brothers is the real winner for this because they distributed both movies. And this is actually kind of crazy in that this is the first time the same studio has had two movies gross over $40 million in the same weekend. I know there's been movies that have, obviously, this is from the same studio. The last time this happened was in 2009 with Avatar, fucking Alvin and the Chipmunks, The Squeakquel, and Sherlock Holmes. That was from Fox. So crazy news. Really great news for Sinners. I think that the word of mouth has been really great for it. I've been seeing, at least around me in my local theaters, the IMAX screenings and Dolby have been like selling out during the week. So really good news. I hope this movie has enormous legs. I want to see it again in IMAX. If you haven't seen it, I think you should. It's a really great movie, and it's doing really well for an R-rated original period piece genre movie, because it's got fucking vampires in it if you haven't seen the commercials for it. And it's the best start for any original movie since pre-pandemic times. The last time a movie opened this big was Jordan Peele's Us, that opened at $71 million in 2019. So shout out Ryan Coogler. All right, guys, that's going to do it for me. Subscribe to stay tuned for more movie news coming soon. And in the meantime, if you haven't seen Sinners, seriously go see Sinners. And if you've seen Sinners, that was fucking awesome, wasn't it? And I swear to God, guys, seriously go see Sinners. This isn't even like an advertisement. This isn't a plug. I'm not getting paid shit. I'm not getting paid by anybody. I just really love supporting movies, or especially original movies and original really good movies. What more can you ask for? Anyways, guys, I'll be back soon. Take care of yourselves. All right, I'll see you around.